So, you may have heard the misinformation that's been going around in the last 24 hours that these are all civil suits filed by Brian Kohberger that are appearing on the Washington court website. That is absolutely not true. What these are is they are summons to try to get out-of-state witnesses to testify at trial. So if you switch over to the Odyssey portal for Whitman County and then Adams County, which is where one of the other ones is, you can look at each of these and you'll see. It says, in the matter of the application of the state of Idaho for an order directing the attendance of, and it lists the person's initials. And you'll scroll on down and it says, for an order to direct the attendance in an Idaho district court. So this is a summons. The defense is issuing these summons. And we can scroll on down through all of these if you want, but there's like 17 of them. And the one from Adams County actually lists the person's name. All the ones in Whitman County just list initials. So this last one is the one for Adams County, and it actually gives the name of the person. So instead of just initials like Whitman County does, you can see that this one is for a Tim DeWolf. And you may say, well, who's Tim DeWolf? Well, he is a University of Idaho graduate, and he was actually the vice president at Sigma Chi. So he was one of Ethan Chapin's fraternity brothers. And he is now living in Washington, so that's why this summons had to be sent as an out-of-state summons to Washington. So now if we start going through the Whitman County summons, it's kind of hard to figure out some of these initials. Others, it's fairly easy. But this one's directing the attendance of someone with the initials AA. I've been searching and looking. I can't figure out who that might be. Next one is somebody with the initials of FA. Next, someone with the initials of CC. Initials CE, someone with the initials of PG. Now, this is someone with the initials of DM, and no, it is not for Dylan Mortensen because she still lives in Idaho. So any summons to testify would be sent in Idaho, not over in Whitman County. Now, I believe that DM is Danielle Macon because she was the graduate program coordinator. So she would have been over that PhD program. Over the PhD students for Kohberger, but it also could be her husband. And her husband is David Macon, who's an associate professor. He was also over that complex social interactions lab, but we do know that Brian did not have access to that lab. And that's why I'm leaning towards the summons is for Danielle, because she was the coordinator of the graduate student program. Next, we had someone with the initials of CM, and I believe that that could be Christian Martinez. If you recall, Christian Martinez was Kohberger's neighbor at Steptoe Village that invited him to that pool party during the summer after Kohberger had moved there. So it's very possible that that CM that they're summoning is Mr. Martinez. Now, there is another CM as well, and Christian Martinez is married, so this could possibly be his wife. I don't know what his wife's name is. It could also just be somebody else at WSU or somebody that Kohberger encountered at a business in town even. The next one is MM, and now remember, the DoorDash driver was listed by the initials of MM, so it is very possible that the DoorDash driver lives in Pullman, and so this summons is for them. But again, it could also be a faculty member that I haven't connected to Kohberger yet, or again, somebody in community. Also, any of these people could be who he came in contact with at Steptoe Village, if these people are still living in Pullman, if they're still in Whitman County. You have to remember that all these people that are listed are still in Whitman County as of right now, or else the summons wouldn't have gone through the Whitman County court. Next, we have someone with the initials of GN and someone with the initials of JS, and no, it is not Jack Showalter. He lives in Idaho, So any summons for him would go through Idaho. But I am 99.9% certain this one is for the Professor Kohberger worked under, John Schneider. Remember, Schneider's the one that he allegedly had tensions with, but all of that has been unfounded as of yet. We still haven't seen any proof to that other than that crazy, not real termination letter that Gigi put out there. Then we have DT, and I believe this is for DD Torgeson. She was the administrative manager of the criminology program there at WSU. Then you have somebody with the initials of CW, and another with the initials of AA, and then a person with the initials of DW. And I believe DW is Del Willits, who is an associate professor and graduate director. So again, somebody else that Kohberger would have been directly under. And then finally, somebody with the initials of AF. Okay, and Anne issued 5 more summons through the Pennsylvania courts as well. So one of these was for Ann Parnham, and she was like an advisor at Kohberger's high school. So kind of going back into his past. Now this next one gets kind of confusing because it says for Brandon Andriola, but then down below here it says for Michelle Bolger. And she was actually the one that recommended Kohberger for the PhD program at WSU. She's a professor at DeSales University. Now, she said in an interview she had never met Brian in person. So her dealings with him were only through the online program. So she never actually taught him physically in class, but yet she recommended him for the PhD program. Then you have Jesse Harris. Now, he is a former boxer who had taught Kohberger boxing, because we all remember that they said Brian had signed up to take boxing classes to help lose weight. So he owned a boxing gym there that Kohberger took the classes at. And then there's this Ralph Vecchio and Maggie Sanders. And Ralph Vecchio is a used car salesman. So it's believed that he's who sold Kohberger the Elantra. But trying to find Maggie Sanders and her kind of relationship to Kohberger, I haven't quite figured out yet. But these are the Pennsylvania summons that were issued. Now, all of these are summons and orders to schedule hearings, because when an out-of-state summons comes to you, you can try to challenge it. So you can go and say, well, that's going to be a hardship for me to go out there to Idaho for X number of days and, yada, yada, yada. So they have to go through this whole hearing process first with all of these people that have been summoned. And usually they're going to get told, sorry, but you need to go. So it's very rare that you can fight a summons in a criminal case. But that's just what's been going on right now. But if anybody tries to tell you that Kohberger has out 17 civil suits against people in Washington, that's not true. Those are summons that were issued by Ann Taylor because she wants these people to testify at trial.